Oh wow, this might be my favorite diorama. Hello, this is Ken. I like making things. I love finding affordable ways to DIY a variety of things. Money can't buy everything, except maybe figures. I love collecting figures and recreating iconic scenes. Every figure deserves to shine on my display. So every week I ask myself the same question, and answer it by creating something I'm proud of. Join my weekly adventure by subscribing to my channel. Leave your feedback and suggestions down below. I often get inspired by your comments, and I hope I can inspire you too. Last week, I fixed my Infinity War Marvel Legends Falcon and the Winter Soldier figures, making them more screen accurate. They turned out pretty good, check that out. And the week before that, I fixed my Sylvie figure and added her to my Loki variants display. I wanted to update the display to reflect the Disney Plus show more, and I couldn't decide which scene to recreate with the TVA Loki. So I asked you guys for help. There are 3 potential scenes to recreate. A. The TVA elevator scene. This scene is going to be the most screen accurate, since Loki is still wearing his jacket and Sylvie still has her cape. B. Lamentis 1. I personally isn't that excited about this one, because I feel like I've done a couple of rocky terrains already, and it requires the most amount of work. And C. The Citadel at the end of time. This one has a finale feel to it, but Loki will look slightly out of place. So let's see what the majority of you guys wanted. C, B, B, C. Uh-oh, I see a pattern. C, A, B, B, C, B, A, B, C, B, 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 C, B, C, 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 A, B, B. Oh wow, it's a really close call. But Lamentis 1 beat the Citadel by a few votes. Okay, fine. I'll admit, the scene's really beautiful. This is gonna be a tough one to recreate. So, can I make it? First, I'm gonna cut some styrofoam. Cut, cut, cut. I have a stash of styrofoam from various packages. I saved them for projects like this. This piece here is relatively thin, perfect for a landscape like Lamentis 1. I'm gonna trim the edges to make it look more like a piece of terrain. Now to add some height to my display, I'm gonna cut a piece of this thick, technical difficulty. I'm gonna cut this, okay, maybe I should invest in a better knife. Most of my tools are bought from the dollar store, but it should be safe, because I'm always cutting away from my fingers. So, for this piece, I want to carve a rocky cliff for Loki and Sylvie to sit on. In the show, they were sitting on some rocks, but for my display, I want to have them sit higher, because there will be another Loki right in front of them. So I want to make sure they're still visible. And having them higher will also make them stand out more. The only annoying thing about styrofoam is the staticky mess it creates. There's fluff everywhere! Anyway, here's the base and the chunk of rock. I'm gonna glue them together. But first, I'm gonna insert 2 toothpicks in there for extra support. Since Loki and Sylvie will be sitting on it, I don't want it to collapse. Then, to make it more organic, I'm gonna glue a bunch of random pieces of styrofoam onto the base. Lamentis 1 is an alien planet, so I want the shapes to reflect that too. And before I start painting the styrofoam, I'm gonna do this trick I learned from a comment I got a long time ago. Painting on styrofoam is a bit tricky because there are so many holes everywhere. But if I add a layer of toilet paper onto the surface with water and glue, it will smooth out the surface and also add a layer of protection to the styrofoam, making it a bit more sturdy. I did the same trick to my Vormir display with Black Widow and it turned out amazing. That diorama display is one of my favorites. Actually, that's another reason why I was hoping you guys would pick the elevator scene or the Citadel. Cause it kinda feels like I'm doing the same thing again. Or am I? I'm someone who needs to be stimulated creatively. I love it when things are happening organically. There's only so much pre-planning one can do. The fun part is when the unexpected happens, kinda like this purple paint that I'm using. I didn't mix my own purple this time, and now it looks way too bright. So I'm gonna add some depth to it by adding in some blues. I get a lot of comments asking me what colors I use, and I generally avoid answering them. It's because to me, It's not just about the specific colors I'm using. It's the combination of the colors, the amount of paint used, the techniques, layering, etc. I feel like it's a bit misleading if I say I got a certain result simply by using this one paint. I'm using acrylic paint from the dollar store. I'm not ashamed of it because they get the job done for me. I recommend using paint that you're familiar with. Overall, my trick is to paint with a damp brush, so that the paint is diluted and can be manipulated. This way, the colors underneath can still come through, or I can add more layers until I completely cover up the base color. I usually just go for it and adapt as I go. Sometimes things work out really well, other times I have to fix mistakes and try again. To me, there are always multiple ways to achieve the desired result, and I'm always learning and improvising as I go. For example, the blue isn't really working well in this case. It has overpowered the purple, so now I'm neutralizing the blue by adding a bit of brown. This is one of the first things I learned in painting. I can achieve the color black by mixing the color blue with brown. I don't really want any actual blacks on my display. I just want to use the brown to make the blue less intense. And to bring out the details, I'm going to add some highlights to the rocks. Okay, this color also isn't working, so I'm using a light blue for the highlights instead, hopefully giving this terrain an alien feel to it. Okay, let's make sure Loki can sit on it before I finish the display. Oh, okay, that works. Good. Now I can just end it here by putting Sylvie on it too. But that's really boring. Lamentis 1 is unique because the planet is about to end, so I have to at least include the crashing moon. So here I got this styrofoam sphere from the dollar store. I don't need the whole thing, so I'm gonna cut it in half. So if I mess up, I still have a backup moon. I'm just gonna use my knife to cut chunks out of it and etch some lines under the surface, so it looks like an exploding moon. I'm gonna avoid doing any obvious straight cuts, otherwise it'll look too calculated. I want the chunks to look like they're flying outwards towards Lamentis 1, because I love 3D things. Alright, here are all the chunks. In the show, the moon has this metallic turquoise color to it. I'm gonna make mine a bit more of a baby blue. I mixed a bit of silver into the blue so I can get a bit of metallic look to it. It looks a bit too lightweight. So I'm gonna add some black to the crevices to add some shading and also making it look more solid, so it feels heavier. Once that's done, I'm gonna use toothpicks again to make the chunks float in midair. If I insert these at the right angles, the toothpicks should be hidden from the view. I'm also applying a bit of white glue onto the toothpicks so they stay in place. I don't want the chunks to actually hit Loki or Sylvie. Alright, here's the moon all finished. I love the exploding effect. It turned out exactly how I envisioned it. Let's see how the moon looks with the base. Ooh, nice. The colors go really well with each other, and are very pleasing to look at. Now because the moon is made out of styrofoam, it weighs like nothing. So I'm going to use paper clips to suspend it in mid-air. I don't like using obvious stands to hold my figures. I would much rather make them blend with the display I'm building, like my WandaVision displays or the fire effects for Iron Man and Rescue. I like using paper clips because they're readily accessible, strong yet flexible. In the show, bits of the moon are falling onto the surface. That means I can use the paper clip to simulate the smoky trails of the debris. So I'm going to attach the two paper clips pieces at an angle, and I'm going to use the glue gun to form the smoke effects. I don't want to have the smoke effects go straight up and down. I think that's a dead giveaway. By having them at an angle, they'll look more dynamic, especially at the points of impact where I emphasize the explosions. I'm painting them bluish purple so the colors are cohesive. This is actually pretty fun, painting things with weird colors. A lot of times we're conditioned to only use specific colors for specific things, but now I get to paint everything purple and blue. Alright, the smoke effects are all done. They look pretty good. I like that they don't take any attention away from the base. Now let's hope they're strong enough to keep the moon in the air. Please work, please work, please work. Ta-da! Here's the display base all finished. This looks so cool. I love how dynamic it looks. The moon looks a bit small, but that was the biggest styrofoam ball I could find. I also like the variety of textures. The rocks have this organic color scheme going on, while the moon has more of a rough metallic feel, and the smoke effects has this perfect medium that ties the two together. Alright, now it's time to put Loki and Sylvie onto the display. Sitting poses are quite difficult to do. They always look unnaturally posed, so I'm going to pose them slightly differently. Instead of having them face the same direction, I'm going to have them face the opposite direction. This way, I can hide those hip joints and there's more personality to their poses. Let's see. Ah, look at that. It's not an exact one-to-one recreation, but I like how this turns out. It doesn't have the end of the world tragic feel to it. Instead, there's this extra whimsical element added to it. Now let's add some final touches to the display. The very bottom display needs a touch of green, so I'm going to insert Sylvie's sword here. After all, love is a dagger, and I can't forget the time door. There we go. Now the Lamentis 1 display is complete. There's something to look at every angle. Let's end this by, hey y'all! How can I forget Miss Minutes? She'll be a great addition to this display. This display consists of mostly cool tones, so having a bright orange Miss Minutes there to balance everything out is perfect. Look at that, she looks so good right there. I love that she's somewhat translucent, like a hologram. Those eyes of hers are so piercing. Anyway, now this display is complete. I didn't want to do Lamentis 1 originally because I was worried that it would be just a Vormir clone, but I can't be any happier. It kinda has elements from all three scenes, the time door from TVA, the exploding moon from Lamentis 1, and Miss Minutes from the Citadel. I was also worried that the sitting poses wouldn't work, especially since Loki has his jacket on, but they turned out fine. Now they can join my other figures in my display. But speaking of, almost forgot. This is supposed to be a Loki variants display. Let me add the other three Lokis. Ah, there we go. The Loki variants display. I just love how each Loki is different and the respective bases reflect that. And in my opinion, they still look really good as a whole. The blue and purple colors go really well with the rest of the display. And the difference in textures draw your attention to the center. Another good thing about this display is that the bases are not attached to each other, so I can space them up and spread them apart if I want. Look, now Miss Minutes can haunt you from her little corner over there. What do you think of the updated Loki variants display? Let me know down below. I had so much fun taking pictures of this versatile display. It looks good with or without all the parts. I can eliminate all the other elements and just focus on Loki and Sylvie and their impending doom. Or I can have them join the rest of the variants and have a party together. Look at them, having so much fun. Otherwise, they would have ended up in a storage bin somewhere. Give this video a like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to check out my other videos. I fixed a lot of Marvel Legends figures and made a couple of diorama displays too. Speaking of, here are my other Marvel Legends dioramas. I try to make sure each one is different and unique, so they can tell their own stories and shine in my display. And the Loki variants display fit right in. Yay! Thanks for watching. Stay inspired and I'll see you soon. I can make it, so can you.